This is Jason Douglas from Three Guys Talking, and you're listening to the 4D Podcast Network.
Talking baseball in Minnesota, Ernie Allen and Molotov. Krellick had a no-hit game, Kirby Puckett, what a shame. Heisel, Herbie, G-Man had their day, we love to watch them play.
Hello, Twins fans, and thank you for joining us here on Talking Twins, as always recorded live from the First Pitch Studios. We thank you for joining us this week. Hope you guys all had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays out there, and hope you enjoyed the Best of special we had last week, which was our Best of A-Ball, where you got to hear from Morgan Hawk and Bryce Zimmerman, two great voices taking care of Twins minor league baseball at the A level. Now this week for our New Year's special, we've got another great show for you. It's going to be the Best of AA and AAA, as you'll hear the voices of Larry Ward and Josh Whetzel, Larry from the Chattanooga Lookouts and Josh from the Rochester Red Wings. So we'll have another great episode this week. Two great interviews on tap for you guys. We'll start the show in just a moment. But remember, before we start the show, you can find us on the web at www.talkingtwinsbaseball.com, via social media on Facebook at www.talkingtwinsbaseball.com/Facebook, or you can use Twitter. Our handle is @TalkingTwins. You can also shoot us an email. That's radio@talkingtwinsbaseball.com. We also want to thank a couple of our partners before we start this week's show. Jesse Lund and the crew out at Twinkietown. They've been a great partner for us in 2015, so for everything they've done for the year, we want to say thanks to Jesse and the whole crew at Twinkietown. Check out Twinkietown. It's a great website at www.twinkietown.com. Also to our friends Ryan J. Quinn and DCRC Radio, a great alternative music and indie site. They've also been a great partner for us in 2015, so we'd like to thank Ryan and the crew out there as well. And check out DCRC Radio at www.dcrcradio.com. And with that, let's get into the show this week. We're going to start off the Best of AA and AAA with our good friend Larry Ward from the Chattanooga Lookouts. So Happy New Year, everybody, from Talking Twins, and let's sit down and listen to Larry Ward from the Chattanooga Lookouts. And as we mentioned, guys, we told you we'd have a special guest on Talking Twins here this evening, and we certainly do. None other than the voice of the Chattanooga Lookouts himself, and that's Mr. Larry Ward. Obviously, your Chattanooga Lookouts are the 2015 Southern League champions this year, and as we mentioned that, we welcome in Larry Ward. And Larry, it's Bradley and Darrell here on Talking Twins. Hey, first, we say thanks very much for popping back on the show tonight.
Well, I really appreciate the invitation as always, and quite frankly, I sat there, I was eating dinner late with my wife, and I said, you know what? Oh my gosh, I forgot. I was supposed to call 15 minutes ago. So here I am. Never, sometimes late, but never forgotten, I guess. I don't know.
Now, you did get to finish your dinner, though, right?
Oh, yeah. We
Okay,
just
good.
finished. Thank you.
Good.
Priorities. I mean, it's always priorities. You have to understand. You got to eat.
Well, nothing fancy. It was leftovers from the last couple of days, so no biggie. Little salmon, a little chicken, a little rice, potatoes.
All right, that's enough. I'm getting hungry now.
Yeah, it's dinner time at your place too.
Yeah,
there you go.
After the show. So,
yeah, there you go.
Well, first of all, obviously, congratulations to yourself, Larry, all the members of the Chattanooga Lookouts, the front office, the team, and everything. A pretty fun season down there, and you guys end up taking that Southern League title. I mean, first of all, I guess the first thing before we get into the real questions is, I mean, was that was Chattanooga pretty electric in terms of winning that series? I mean, is that kind of a big deal down there in Chattanooga with the Lookouts getting that title?
Well, here's one thing you have to remember in the Southeast: when September comes, it's football time.
Yep.
And so we played into almost mid-September. I think our final attendance on the championship game, 2,700, whereas a lot of teams would have 3 times that, maybe, if they had that size of stadium. But it was one of those things where football just prevails. And that's when September comes, or the end of August. High school starts football, and then college starts the last weekend of August. And playoffs become quite frankly, in the Southern League, playoffs kind of go back to the back burner.
Wow.
Now, that's not in all cities. That's just in a lot of cities.
Okay.
You take a Birmingham or Jacksonville, they'll have 5,000 to 6,000 people. But stop and think about this, guys. They seat between 8,000 and 11,000. So quite frankly, percentage-wise, it's about the same.
Yeah.
You don't have that many people. But I will say this. Wherever we've gone after the championship, wherever we've gone to the 2-3 weeks leading up to it, when you have an Eyes logo on, people ask you, well, are you a fan or do you work there? And of course, when you tell them you work there, they go, oh, I recognize that voice. So that makes you feel good as well. And I know my mom and I were at the county fair just a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to a vendor. He goes, I recognize your voice. So I told him who I was. Oh, yeah. You know, so a lot of people know who you are by voice, but they don't know you by image. And that's fine. But the big thing is they know the Lookouts won the pennant. That's the big thing.
That's all that matters.
And in that regard, everybody was very excited.
I mean, really, that's all that matters at the end is knowing who the champion is. That's, and obviously
That's it.
And Twins fans, obviously, if you want to listen to Chattanooga baseball, obviously in the 2016 season, you can catch Larry on 105.1. That's ESPN, the Zone down there in Chattanooga. You can actually listen to the Zone via the TuneIn app, or you can also lookouts.com as well. So Larry does some great calls of baseball games down there. I mean, all I can say is this, Larry, is I did a lot of yard mowing up here in Minnesota, and there were a lot of times where it was a Twins afternoon game or the Twins were off, and the first place I was going was I had the phone out, set up 105.1 the Zone, and there you go, man. You listen to some great baseball down there. I mean, you guys do.
I appreciate that, and as my old friend in your area, Al Schock, would say, thanks a lot, partner.
Well, the first question.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say the first thing I want to ask you is we're talking about, the Lookouts 2015 season. Now, the first half of the season, the Lookouts were, Doug Mientkiewicz and that crew, they were a dominating ball club down there in the first half of the Southern League. Now, obviously, there was go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say there was a few more struggles in the second half of the season. Now, part of that, obviously, you can't put that all on the team or anything. Part of it was they got rated. The Twins did what they should do. They moved players up. So obviously that means the Lookouts had to lose several top players on that roster, and that's going to take a toll for any team. I don't care who you are. But yeah, you guys still managed to pull it out, and credit again to Mientkiewicz and credit to the guys that were still down there in the Lookouts team in the second half, winning that Southern League title and that championship. It was a pretty exciting season overall. And what I wanted to ask you is, in terms of all your years of being a voice for the Lookouts, where would you rank the 2015 season in terms of favorite seasons?
Well, winning a championship, how can you say not number one? I mean,
boy,
really,
that's the answer I wanted.
After 27 years.
Good.
There's no way it's not number one.
Well, I don't know. You could have had it.
And we've had some great seasons. I mean, 92, we won 90 games. With Dave Miley started the first half, and Ron Oster finished the second half. And we lost to the Braves, who won 100 games, but they had all the future, some Hall of Famers on that Braves team. 95, we played again. We were in the playoffs for 94 with Pat Kelly, whom we beat in Pensacola this year as a manager. And then Dave Miley in 95 again. And then Mark Berry, who coached third base for the Reds. And we've been close. And, the Dodgers, we were in the playoffs three times where the Dodgers played for the championship last year with the Dodgers organization. But this ranks as the highest. There's no doubt about it. I mean, when you win a championship, it's the best. Now, I will say this, over the last few weeks, I've gained some new Facebook friends of old former Lookouts that are names that nobody ever heard of. Gino Minutelli and Joe Bruno, Tim Fortuno, who pitched in the big leagues for a while, what has been a longtime friend. These are guys from the 90s that gave their all and never got there. And, the tradition just continued and continued and continued. But I will say this, in the first half of the season, you're right. We had a team. We had a team that was just unstoppable after they finally picked up the gauntlet and we won 16 out of 18 down the stretch or what have you. Then the Buxton left, and then Sano leaves, and then yada, 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 yada. It took about 2.5 weeks with all the new guys before it clicked when they came from A-ball. When it clicked, there was no stopping them. By then, however, we were behind the 8 ball as far as wins of winning the second half. Didn't matter. We already won the first half. The whole point was finish strong and win the whole thing, and that's exactly what they did. And credit, quite frankly, you got to credit the staff of Doug Minkiewicz and Stu Clyburn and Chad Allen of turning guys into hitters, turning throwers into pitchers, turning boys into men who took responsibility for their actions and learned that when you lost, you picked your head up, you forgot about it, and you go back and you win the next day. And that's exactly what happened. And that's just the way it works. Quite frankly, if every organization would allow their managers and coaches to do what these guys did this year, they'd all be winners.
Oh, that's...
Hey, Larry, I've actually got 2 questions for you, Larry, and I'm going to let Brad then go after that. But the first one, and you guys, we've already kind of discussed it, how the first half of the season, I kind of thought they were going to set a record for the amount of runs scored or home runs hit. They were lights out. How important was the Southern League MVP Max Kepler to the championship? That's the first question I wanted to ask you.
Well, there's no doubt it made a big, big change when Kep came along, and he was a rookie, and he was shy, at least around, in my knowledge. It took him, you could watch him at the plate being a little bit shy, but when he took off, there was no stopping him. He is so, what's the word I'm looking for? He is so adept at situations. He is so conscious of how to play the game, and he got better and better every game he played, and that came along from his tutoring along the way. But the biggest thing was the kid knows what the game is all about. You don't just play for 2 at-bats, you play for 4 at-bats. You don't just play one game in a series, you play all 5 games in the series. You don't just play part of the season, you play the whole season. And that's the difference with a Max Kepler, and he is going to be something else, boys. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Twins fans are excited to see him in a Twins uniform.
Oh, he's going to be fun to watch. Now, he may not be there till the middle of next year, but he's going to be like a Kevin Bryant for the Cubs. He's going to be there, and he's going to be very, very special. And I hope that the Twins realize that. Quite frankly, this is a guy, could be another Harmon Killebrew. I'm telling you. When and when he gets to the Hall of Fame, and I may be gone by then, but when he gets to the Hall of Fame, just remember who said that.
Okay.
Nice.
Fair enough.
I like that a lot. And the second question I wanted to ask you, Larry, was about the skipper, and that's Doug Minkiewicz, because a lot of the offseason is going to be about whether or not he sticks around or he goes somewhere else. If you had to guess, and I know it's just a guesstimate right now, today, do you think he stays within the Twins organization, or does he take a flyer and go somewhere else and become a skipper somewhere?
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does stay with the Twins organization. I hope they realize what they have with Doug Minkiewicz. He's won at every level he's been at so far as a manager. He's won championships at both Florida, in the Florida State League and now in the Southern League. Give him a chance to win one in the International League. And then I don't know, after that, I don't know if they're ready for another change in Minnesota or not. That's up to Minnesota. But I'm going to tell you what, boys, this guy will win at the big league level if somebody gives him the opportunity. There's 2 or 3 reasons. One, he's a smidgen of old school, plenty of middle school, and a lot of future school. Yeah. He gets it. He knows how to motivate you off your butt. He knows how to make you drive and play hard. And he knows how to discipline you when you don't.
Is he the type of player, do you think, that would be willing to take a bench position or a coaching position on the Twins staff and not be the guy, the skipper?
Maybe for a year.
Okay.
Maybe. Okay. The guy he knows what he can do. He's not afraid. He's not a braggart, but he's not afraid to show you he knows what to do. And I have all the respect in the world for Doug McCavish. We didn't pal around a lot. We didn't have to. Professionally, it was a professional relationship. There were some personal times, which I'm not going to talk about, but they were. It's just that all 3 of that whole staff, they were fun to be around. They were a pleasure to be around. They made the season so much fun. It's just unbelievable. It's the best. It's the best season in probably 20 years that I've had a chance to really, really, really enjoy.
Yeah, from my side of it, Larry, I just worry about this, that Doug's, he's wanted that chance for a little while. The Twins, to be quite honest, and, from a guy that's covering this club up here at the major league level, it's not like the Twins have any shame in their current skipper. Paul Molitor's one hell of a manager and was a great ball player for, 20-some years as well. And I don't think the Twins really have any thought process right now about even moving Molitor out of that job for the next few years. So, and the thing is, this year you've got 6 or 7 managerial opportunities that are going to pop up in the major leagues. Miami's going to be one, and Doug is from. Doug has spent some of his life in Florida. He lives right across the straight across the state, across the Alligator Alley. And you've got Miami, you've got Seattle's already let Lloyd McClendon go, so you've got
San Diego's another one.
Cincinnati.
Oh, I know.
So
there's a lot of them.
I think for him, if he gets the opportunity, as much as I would hate to see him leave this organization and seeing all that he's done, I think if he gets the shot, the thing I would say to throw out there too is you don't know the next time when you're going to get offered that opportunity. If you get offered a managerial job in the majors, you don't know that in 2017 there's another offer that's going to be there for you. I think if he gets an offer, I put it already in an article that I wrote earlier this month at 40% that he's gone. So I'll stick with that. I'll say 40-60 that he's back or not back. But I think if he gets an offer, I think for Doug it's a career move for him and it's a good one. You'd hate to see the guy leave. I don't think anybody would.
I'll be his biggest fan, though, if he does, because you can't blame the guy.
Not at all.
You're going to help him pack his bags.
Well, I don't know about that.
Exactly.
Because that's what he's working for.
It is.
He's one of my favorite players, and you want to see all the best for him.
Here's what I like about Doug McCavish. Here's what I watched him as a manager do. He did the same way that he played. Nose in the dirt. Not afraid to take a chance, not afraid to make a move, not afraid to do the opposite of what you thought he should do. He's not afraid of anything, period. And if you want to buck him, if you want to be a player and not do what you are instructed to do, God forbid, you may not play for a couple of 3 days or maybe the whole week, because he is not afraid to innovate. He's not afraid to make a decision. And I've watched managers over the years, and I've watched them screw up at third base, sending guys that carry pianos on their back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Ben McCavish knows his personnel like the back of his hand. He knows who to send, when to send. Can they get there? Can they do this? Can they do that? Guys, the guy studies the game 24/7.
He does.
And if you don't want him in your organization, you're a fool. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't want him as a manager, then let him, and I don't think the Twins would begrudge that at all. Let him go and be a manager at the big league level with another organization. You can't hold him back. You're not going to hold him back.
And it's
There's
still
no doubt.
And it still bodes well for your organization if he does go and get a job somewhere else. At least you can look and say, yeah, that's the quality of the candidates that we're grooming. And you've got Jeff Smith down in Fort Myers. You've got a great young manager in Cedar Rapids named Jake Maurer. I mean, to me, if nothing else, that's still a plus for your organization that you can say we're generating such good managerial and coaching talent that unfortunately, while we didn't have a spot for him here because of this current skipper we've got, hey, this guy still was good enough to come from our organization and get a major league job somewhere else. That's still a star for the Twins and the minor league organization that you're still, kicking out that quality of talent.
Absolutely.
Now,
absolutely. And when he gets there, maybe he'll want the old guy that was in Chattanooga for a couple of years to do the games and broadcast. You never. Come on. I mean, seriously.
There's always a tie, and there's always a hook there. That's right. That's right. I like that. Always a hook. Now, one of the things I want to you started hitting it on the head a little bit with Doug and his coaching ability and so forth. And one thing I wanted to talk about with you is, well, it's kind of a two-piece question because obviously the Twins this year, they finished in second place in the division, 83 wins. Now the bullpen was a concern most of the season. They're going to have to fix that. Yeah, it was definitely an issue, and they're going to have to improve it. Now there are some guys that are coming down from your neck of the woods that pitched in Chattanooga. I mean, Nick Birdie's one of them. I mean, you've got a couple other guys that pitch down there as well, and Jake Reed, and some that you'll probably even see this season. Trevor Hildenberger is one that comes to mind for me, and in fact, some of these guys are also playing in the Arizona Fall League as we speak right now, which started yesterday. So, I mean, what I want to ask, is, do you think out of those guys, from what you got to see from some of them, especially in the second half of last season, are any of those names ready in 2016 to come up and be at some point, maybe not right away, maybe not in April, but at some point in that season, do you think that one of those or more than one of those guys are ready to come up and assist the bullpen at a major league level?
If they pay attention to what they learned this season in the second half specifically. Nick Birdie was sent back to Fort Myers.
Correct.
Because he wouldn't listen.
Right.
He didn't listen. He was throwing 98 miles an hour. Do you know what? Anybody can hit a dick-high fastball at 98 miles an hour.
Yes, I love it.
I'm sorry.
No,
that's the truth.
No, that's
exactly what they can do.
No apologies.
At any level. It doesn't matter. Now, what they can't hit is now the Nick Birdie breaking ball that he developed and learned how to throw and makes it nasty. Shagwa.
Yes.
Shagwa could throw 98, 100. They would knock him all over the place. Guess what? Shagwa struck out a guy in the championship series, came in. The first two pitches were so filthy a breaking ball, the guy he had no chance. Then he blew a fastball past him looking about under the letters at about 98 miles an hour, and the guy's going, what the hell just happened? If they learn how to pitch, quit throwing, learn how to pitch, guys.
Big difference.
Stay on course, learn how to pitch, learn from the guys who know and have been there and who either Stu Clyburn's not in the Hall of Fame, but you know what? He knew how to pitch.
Still knew how to, yep.
I mean, when you pay attention, I don't care whether you're a pitcher, whether you're a hitter, whether you want to try to steal bases. The day you start paying attention, the moment you pay attention to the people who are coaching you, who have been there before, who have made those mistakes, who learn from their mentors and are now your mentor, if you pay attention, you will make a gajillion dollars in the big leagues. If you don't pay attention, like some of these guys didn't early on, if you don't pay attention, you ain't going to get anywhere. You're not going to get out of A ball, let alone double A sometimes. But man, oh man, that bullpen came in and it was unbeatable. You could not score on the bullpen late in the second half because they learned how to pitch instead of throw. And that was all the difference in the world.
And it is. It's like it's like the light bulb coming on. And once coaches see that, and once players realize that the light bulb, is on, that's when you get to go to see the bright lights. And that's why you led me right into my second question. And it's talking about the Arizona Fall League, because you mentioned when you're ready to learn, when you're ready to what I would say is when you're ready to become a baseball player, when you're really ready to become a professional baseball player, when you're ready to learn. Well, part of that is the Arizona Fall League. And playing in the AFL really helps develop guys. In fact, there's a stat from MLB that states that 60% of the players that play in the Arizona Fall League end up on a major league roster at some point in their career. So
it's usually the next year. No,
usually it's the next year.
year.
Yeah, usually it's the next year. So it's the development is there. Guys like Kepler have used it. Eddie Rosario used it. What do you think of the Arizona Fall League, and how important do you think that league is to players' development?
Oh, I think it's one of the greatest things that they ever put together. It's that stopgap. Before you had instructional and you had winter ball, and that was it. You didn't have the Arizona Fall League. You didn't have an opportunity to have guys face like players who are learning and having the coaches that they have there to teach you and further your experience and your learning experience. You went to Venezuela. You went to Puerto Rico.
Right.
You went to winter ball.
Yep.
Now, all you did when you went to winter ball was make great money and didn't have to pay taxes on it. I mean, voila.
That's good too.
Isn't that great?
Yep.
But you came back, you were still the same player. When you go to the Arizona Fall League, you become a player instead of just a player. You're more than just a professional baseball player. Now you are a professional baseball player, and you understand and you get instruction. And now not everybody succeeds out of that because not everybody's brain is in tune to say, when I make the big leagues, I can make over $500,000 a year just being a rookie. Some people want that, but they don't want it bad enough to work for it. They think they're entitled to it. It's like Doug McCavich said all summer long, and I don't disagree with this because I've been saying it for years. We've raised players with the attitude that when you participate, you get a trophy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not when you win, you get a trophy, but when you participate. And you know what? You got a bunch of participation people. When you become a winner, then you become a Major League Baseball player.
Yeah.
You don't do that by just participating. And there's a lot of guys who just participate and they die in the Southern League, or they be on the taxi squad in AAA, and at the age of 35 they finally decide to go get a life. But the guys who play and the guys who concentrate and the guys who listen, they become baseball players. You can't participate and get a trophy and become a winner. You have to win to become a winner, and that's what it's all about.
Nice.
And I'm gonna take it to the other side of the plate then, as a position player, because a guy who does work hard, but this year struck out 195 times. He did hit 30. He did hit 31 long balls, and he hit 106 RBI. But Annabelle Walker strikes out a lot. Annabelle Walker strikes out a lot. And my question to you, and all the years you go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, in all the years you covered it, I would think that he probably sees in every 1 out of 4 or 5 pitchers with really MLB stuff. So my question to you, what it was going to be, Larry, is that can he right now handle MLB pitching?
No, he cannot.
You didn't even think about saying no on that one, Larry. You were jumping on that right away.
No. I watched him all year long.
I know you have.
I watched
That's why
him.
I wanted to ask. This is Brad's guy. Brad really likes this guy, and he wants him so bad to succeed, as do I. But 195 strikeouts, Larry.
I never said he was ready to come up, though.
No.
Well, no, he's not ready to come up. He needs another season in the Southern League. And here's why I'm saying this.
Okay.
He needs to start the season in the Southern League because he needs to learn how to be, what's the word, confident?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Now, he knows where the strike zone is, but he's still swinging at pitches that aren't in the strike zone.
Correct.
I don't know why. Now, can he see him okay? I don't know. I don't know what his vision is. Does he wear contacts? You know what? I really don't know. I do know he blinks a lot when you talk to him. Now, whether that's what he does when he's at the plate, I'm behind him. I can't tell. But I do know this: when he makes contact, it's goodbye baseball.
Yep.
When he doesn't make contact, it's really, really bad. Because once they learn that he can't hit a breaking ball, and his concentration's got to be how to hit a breaking ball, how to recognize when that ball is going to come. Why he doesn't, I don't know. Maybe it's a concentration thing. Now, check this out. He only struck out once yesterday. He walked twice.
Yep.
He went 0 for 2, but he walked twice. So maybe he's starting to recognize it. I don't know. So he only struck out once. That's the key. He has got to recognize the pitch and keep with it and learn it. And starting in Chattanooga next year to start with is not a sin. It's not derogatory. It's not saying your career is finished. It's saying, look, there is good pitching in the Southern League. In fact, this is some of the best pitching in AA baseball in the Southern League that you'll find. And we want you to go there, and we want you to spend 90 days, and we want you to get the hell out of there. But you've got to do it by hitting the ball, whether it's a breaking ball or a fastball. You can't just hit fastball. And let me tell you something, boys. When he hits a home run, it is a home run. There is no doubt about it when he hits the ball.
He hits it a long way.
Oh, and I mean, he hit a ball in Montgomery, okay, that exploded like a cannon, and it nearly hit the train that was going by in left field. He almost hit the train. Do you know how far that is? That's close to 450 feet, 460 feet. I mean, and that's the way he hits it. But you've got to hit the singles and the doubles, and teach and show the opposition that you know how to hit a breaking ball. And then all of a sudden, now they're going, now what are we throwing?
And I guess my only reservations would be is that he hit in 2013. He had 115 strikeouts. Then he had 156 in Fort Myer, and then 195. And I'm just wondering, is there a time where the Twins have to either trade or do something? I mean, you don't want to give up on a prospect that can hit at 450 feet. But what else can the man learn?
Well, he's got to learn. He just has to learn how to hit a breaking ball. That's all. It's not anything. It's not a fastball he can't hit, or it's not an inside pitch he can't hit. It's a breaking ball. It's a curveball on the outside corner.
Okay.
He swings at pitches that are 8 inches off the plate. Why? I don't know why. I've never asked him. Maybe that's something that is hitting people need to ask him. Why are you swinging at pitches 8 inches off the plate? Do you not know? You know,
you got to find him. You got to find him Lou Brown, who managed the Indians in Major League, because it's like Pedro Serrano in a sense. I mean, the guy would crush fastballs and hit birds' nests in trees, but you threw him a breaking ball, and it looked like he had never seen a baseball bat before. And it's kind of the same.
Yeah, I know.
I hate to say it, it's kind of the same concept. And yeah, I mean, it comes down to plate discipline. I mean, he's got to learn plate discipline. He has to.
Yeah, he's got to learn plate discipline. But let me tell you something. If anybody will learn it, he can learn it. Sure. He's the greatest kid in the world. He is a huge teammate. He is a fan of everybody on his team. He works hard. He can flag down a fly ball. Now the other thing, they got to work on his arm. I don't know what's going on there. I have no idea. I'm not privy to it. He had some trouble in the latter part of the season, so I don't know if there was something wrong with his arm or whether he just had a funk. Maybe it was just a funk. I don't know. But I know that many times he came through in the clutch when it was needed. And he was part of a championship team, and it made a lot of difference.
Well, Larry, I got one last Lookouts related question for you. Now it's kind of time for that
Okay.
that Southern rumor mill to kick in here. Are Woods and Fryer going to build a new stadium in Chattanooga? Because boy, I've seen a couple articles on that now, and with this new ownership group now, is this just rumor, or is this something that is this kind of getting the wheels in motion? Are these two really looking at building a new place down there to replace AT&T Field?
The speculation.
I asked the tough ones for a reason.
The speculation is that we need a new facility.
Okay.
The facility we have, we've been in there for 17 seasons.
Okay.
16? I don't know, whatever it is. It needs rejuvenated. Do you spend $6 million to rejuvenate that? Or do you try to get $30 million to build a new facility? You know what? I'm not inside the brain of ownership.
Sure.
I do what I need to do, and I know how to do it. We were so elated when we moved to AT&T in 2000. It was refreshing. It was exciting. It was new for the people. It was downtown opposed to being in an area of the city that was not totally undesirable, but we were on the margin of a bad field, a bad stadium, crumbling stadium, a 72-year-old stadium that needed to be replaced.
Okay.
And Frank Burke built the ballpark, and we built it for $10.5 million and then added a couple $1 million as we went along. And it was refreshing. In the last 3 or 4 years, it has come to needing a lot of renovation. Do you have room to renovate there? No, you don't.
Okay.
Do you have room to change it around? No, you don't. So I think with new ownership, I think their intention, just my personal thoughts here, I think their intention was to look in the future 2 or 3 years down the road and foresee an opportunity, because there's plenty of opportunity on the south side. There's plenty of opportunity on the east side to build a new ballpark, but you've got to put all the ducks in a row, guys. And let me tell you something. This county has trouble just getting computers for schools. This county has trouble building stadiums or revising stadiums for their own football stadiums in the school system. This county it's not poor, but does it have the wherewithal to be able to send things into motion to build a new stadium? I don't know.
Okay.
I've lived here for 26 years, and I've seen them where, quite frankly, if Frank Burke hadn't put the stadium together, we'd have been in Lexington, Kentucky.
God.
That's absolutely the truth.
I believe it. It's just
and so.
Okay.
So maybe they've got $30 million they can put together and build it and get the brakes and do all the stuff that needs to be done. I don't know.
Well, we'll keep watching that story as it maybe unfolds in 2016 and beyond. The last question I've got is way easier. It's real easy. What do you have planned?
Good.
Yeah. What do you have planned for the off season? What are you and Mrs. Ward going to do in the off season? Besides, I know the fact that you do some other play-by-play if you want to mention that, and then what else you do in the off season?
Well, this off season, I did not take my vacation out west. I have been doing projects around this house that have been needed done for the last 3 or 4 years. My wife and I are going to a Clemson football game this weekend. Her side of the family are big Clemson fans, so we're going up. It'll be my last opportunity to go to a game. 2 weeks ago, we went to a game, and we babysat our grandson because it was pouring down rain in South Carolina.
Yes.
But it was awful, and they're just now. I mean, my brother-in-laws got stopped in Columbia. They couldn't get any further. The highways are all closed. Trying to get to Sumter. But for the most part, I'm doing a lot of projects, and I've got women's basketball coming up, starting with UTC, University of Tennessee Chattanooga. November 13th, and tomorrow I get to go do a video interview with Coach Foster, talking about the new format and rules with the quarters for women's basketball and all of that. And gosh, we've got a great season ahead. We're going to Stanford. We have Connecticut coming to Chattanooga.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Well, I think Gino is Coach Foster mentored Gino Ariana. So he's kind of, it's a one-on-one. We're going there next year. They're coming here this year. And we go to Stanford. We beat Stanford at home last year. We beat Tennessee again last year.
There you go.
So, we're kind of floating along, and we're trying to do some of that good stuff. And then the next thing you know, it's going to be April the 7th or 5th or whatever it is for the first pitch. So it's another winter time in which we get an opportunity to enjoy our family and enjoy a little catching up on old westerns and stuff like that. So
yeah, we definitely hope that April comes quick up here, because your guys' winters aren't exactly quite the same as what we have to deal with up here in the frozen white north. So
yeah, let me tell you something. Now, last year we had one of the coldest temperatures, or one of the coldest winters we've had in a long time. Snow and everything. I mean, everything, right?
and everything.
And everything. I just filled up I have a 100-gallon propane tank as backup for our fireplace. I just filled it up today, so I'm all set for the winter time. And when it looks like it's going to be snowing in, I'll make sure I have plenty of milk and cookies and all that good stuff.
Larry,
so that I won't get caught.
I laugh at your propane tank, because 100 gallons would probably get me till about December 31st. I've got a 400-gallon tank. No joke. I just put 300 gallons in it, and I'm hoping that's going to make it to the winter. Yeah, I'm sorry, but we have stretches up in here where, January you might not see freezing the whole month unless you get lucky.
Isn't that something?
But hey,
well, I really wanted to come up and visit this fall, but I mean, we were late with the playoffs.
No,
be honest with you, fellas, the 140 games, the travel, I was very tired at the end of the season, and I just said, you know what, I'm not traveling anywhere. My buddy Al Shock up there was a little disappointed I didn't come up, but it was one of those things. It was a great season, and it was just relentlessly travel weary. But this year it'll be even better, and it's just one of those things where the older you get, each year goes by, the harder it is to get up off the floor.
I understand. Well, hey, if you can get up here in 2016, we'd like to show you some Minnesota hospitality, and maybe vice versa down there in Chattanooga. So,
absolutely. You guys come down anytime. We'll take care of you. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, and with that, guys, that's Larry Ward, your voice of the 2015 Southern League champion Chattanooga Lookouts. Twins fans, we hope you enjoyed that interview with Larry Ward here on the Best of AA and AAA special Talking Twins. Now, stick around after the break, because we've got a whole lot more to come back with, as we're going to sit down and talk with Josh Whetzel, voice of the Rochester Red Wings, right after the break here on Talking Twins.
This is Shoes from Three Guys Talking, and you're listening to Talking Twins here on the 4D Podcast Network.
Well, Twins fans, we're back here on our Talking Twins Best of AA and AAA special, and now it's time to sit down with Josh Whetzel, voice of the Rochester Red Wings, here on Talking Twins. Hey guys, we're here on Talking Twins. Time now for our Down on the Farm segment, and we've got a special guest that's going to sit down and join us this week, and that is none other than Josh Whetzel, the voice of the Rochester Red Wings. So as we start the show, we want to first welcome you in, Josh. Thanks again for taking the time out to join Talking Twins this evening and sitting down and talking some Rochester Red Wings baseball.
No problem. Glad to be here.
And we greatly appreciate it as always. And just to get into it too, one of the things I wanted to talk with you first about is we look at 2015 and the Red Wings, and we'll kind of just do an overall or kind of a look back here in a moment. But that team, as a lot of Twins fans saw, and it's obviously some of it's already started to cycle up to the major leagues. Some of it's probably going to do that in 2016. But that team was loaded with some really, really good pitching prospects. I mean, you guys got to have Jose Barrios there for the second half of the season. Guys like Taylor Rogers pitching in the AFL now. Tyler Duffy, Alex Meyer, Pat Dean, who had a pretty successful season as a Red Wing. Would you have to say that in your years that you've been calling Red Wings games that this is one of the better collections of pitching talent that you guys have got to watch in Rochester?
Yeah, it would probably rank up there. I mean, the team set a record, or at least they threw more shutouts than any team, not only for Rochester, but for any team in the International League in about 40 years.
Okay.
But the odd thing about that is the team finished kind of in the middle of the pack in the league in terms of ERA, which is kind of tough to figure out. But certainly a guy like Jose Barrios jumps off the page, and I think probably the most talented starting pitching prospect the Red Wings have had since Francisco Liriano and Matt Garza. I mean, he was awfully fun to watch, and Twins fans got a really good glimpse of Tyler Duffy and how good he is. So, yeah, it was certainly one of the better collections. And then don't forget, too, the Wings had Tommy Malone for 5 starts early in the year when he was having some problems, and he was pretty much unhittable for the Red Wings in those 5 starts. So it was a really good collection of pitching, and we'll just see how that translates moving down the road for the Twins.
True, very true indeed.
Well, and speaking of Jose Barrios, especially, I know a lot of Twins fans wanted to see Jose come up in 2015, especially for the playoff push. But the Twins did the right thing by letting him, because of the inning count, they let him stay down there. Is he probably one of the better pitching prospects you've seen? And if so, I mean, just what makes him so special?
Yeah, I mean, I think Baseball America ranked him the 7th or 8th prospect in the IL in their opinion in the league. I think I would have put him ahead of a couple of the other pitchers that they ranked in front of him, like, for example, Henry Owens, who a lot of prospect fans have heard about for the Red Sox. In my opinion, Barrios is a much better prospect than Henry Owens. I think the thing that stands out, for one thing, I mean, he's only 21 years old, and he already has a really good changeup. I mean, you don't see guys with as good a changeup as he has at 21 years old, especially when they can throw hard. He has a good fastball. His curveball, the first couple of starts, was not that terrific, but it got better and better and better. And I think that's probably the number one thing that stands out to me about Jose is that virtually every single start he made, he improved upon something from the start before. I mean, he just got better and better and better. And I think that bodes really well for his future. Now, I mean, there are some concerns. He's not a real tall guy. He's probably only 5'11" or so, something like that. So he has to really be careful with his fastball command. I don't know that his fastball moves a ton compared to some other guys, but I have a feeling he's going to figure it out. I mean, he's a very motivated, self-driven guy. His workouts are very well known,
Yes,
and a very humble guy too. I mean, it's not like he's cocky. I mean, he's very confident in his ability.
Yep.
But he knows he has stuff he needs to work on, and And I just have a feeling he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that he becomes as good a pitcher as he possibly can be.
Well, and speaking of his size, his stature, I know Keith Law had him ranked down in the start of the year. I mean, he was like 90-something, and then he jumped like 75 spots about three-quarters way through the year. Is that something that the Twins organization or that scouts that you know of that are looking at? Is that his size? I mean, he's proving everybody wrong. I think that I really think he feeds off of that. You know, you tell me you can't do it, and I'm going to do it.
Right, and I don't think it'll be a huge deal for him as long as he locates his fastball well. And I think one of the reasons, and I might be putting words in people's mouths here, but I think one of the reasons the Twins didn't call him up is they still felt that he was maybe getting away with some stuff in AAA that he's not going to get away with in the big leagues concerning fastball command. Because, you know, there's a difference between a guy having good control and good command. I think right now Jose has very good control, but maybe doesn't have terrific command yet. In other words, you know, he's throwing maybe a few too many pitches out over the plate, and because his stuff is so good, he's able to get away with it at this level, and he's not going to be able to do that in the major leagues. But that's very nitpicking, and considering he's only 20, 21 years old, I'm not too concerned about that. I think it's something that he's going to figure out.
So as we talk about pitching, Josh, let's take kind of just a greater step back here and take more of the 30,000-foot view, if you will. What were your overall thoughts of this club in 2015, not just from the pitching standpoint, but just kind of an overall, I guess, look back at 2015? What would your kind of overall grade for this club and just overall thoughts on how this club performed in 2015?
Well, it was good. The odd thing is for the third straight year, they finished with the exact same record, 10 games over 500, 77 and 67.
Yep.
And I would maybe be a little bit inclined to say that they overachieved. I think coming out of spring training, the Twins maybe had some higher hopes for the team than just 10 games over 500. But I think the way things worked out, losing some of the guys at the big leagues that they did lose up there, I think maybe the team actually did a little bit better than I would have anticipated looking back on the season. They spent almost 40 days in first place. Very easily could have won the division, except Scranton Wilkes-Barre was just loaded. The Yankees AAA team had a really, really good team this year. And a lot of, you know, there weren't a lot of huge position player prospect type guys other than, you know, the 2 weeks or so that Byron Buxton spent here, but just a lot of really good AAA players much of the season and guys that could probably come up and contribute if needed. You know, early in the season, Danny Ortiz was really, really good. Reynaldo Rodriguez was a real surprise. And I think it'd be great if the Twins could re-sign him and send him back to Rochester, because Reynaldo is one of the best players really in the IL and somebody that a lot of people don't know about. So I think the team did really, really well. And one of the things that stands out is just that, you know, there wasn't much of a difference with Mike Quaddy taking over as the manager from Gene Klin. Kind of kept the clubhouse the same sort of way with a high energy vibe, not too high, not too low, but, you know, every day guys come to the ballpark and try to do their best to win games, and it worked out for the most part.
Well, and you mentioned a guy that intrigued me, so I want to talk about him a little bit more, and that is Reynaldo Rodriguez. I mean, this is a guy that was Batavia Downs Player of the Year a few times during the season. A lot of Twins fans, if you don't know, Batavia Downs, one of the big sponsors for the Rochester Red Wings, and that's their Player of the Week, is always sponsored by Batavia Downs, the racetrack out there. But Reynaldo Rodriguez was, to me, is a very interesting prospect because, I mean, and I'll ask you this: you got to see him a heck of a lot more than I did, other than, you know, box scores and a few games online and listening to some of your calls. But when I look at Reynaldo, I try to figure out now. Obviously, Torrey Hunter retiring has an opening there. Where do you see a spot for a guy like Reynaldo Rodriguez in the Twins organization? I mean, if it's not 2016, maybe 2017, you know, somewhere in there. But where would you see his kind of fit in this organization if the Twins do re-sign him and he sticks around?
Yeah, that's the one big if. They'd have to re-sign him, and considering the kind of season he had, I would think that he will have quite a few options as far as teams offering him minor league contracts. Sure. So he could have kind of the pick of the litter, but you know, the thing that really sticks out about Reynaldo is that he just plays really, really hard. I mean, he's one of the hardest playing players in this league. He racked up a ton of doubles, wound up with 16 home runs, a lot of RBIs. I'm looking at his batting average right now, which was 255, which is lower than I would have thought. But just played really hard and did a solid job, if not spectacular, wherever they put him defensively. He played both first base and in the outfield. So, I think down the road, if he does make it to the major leagues, he's a bench guy.
Okay.
But, he can run a little bit. He's not a burner, but he can run a little bit. And he's extremely aggressive and, as I mentioned, plays very hard. High energy guy off the bench. So, as a major league player, I think he would be a role guy. But I think you could certainly do worse than him in a lot of cases.
Okay. Nice.
And I'm actually going to go on the other side now and go to Pat Dean, because he had 5 complete games, which is 3 more than his next closest. And I know I have to admit, I was surprised when Duffy got called up over Rogers, and I see Rogers doing well now in the AFL. Is Pat Dean, I know he's got to get signed again too. So he's kind of like Ronaldo Rodriguez. Is he going to have a place for the Twins, or is he going to be...
Yeah, and he's not yet a free agent, but the concern with him is I could maybe see another major league organization picking him in the Rule 5 draft.
Yep.
He is eligible for that.
Exactly.
And I could see that happening. Sean Gilmartin got taken by the Mets from the Twins, and Dean was a much more effective pitcher last year than Gilmartin was 2 years ago in AAA.
Yeah.
Dean really had a good year, and I'd like to see him get a chance at some point.
Shutouts.
Right, and every time you'd think maybe he's going to get down a little bit, he'd turn in a string of terrific starts, and he was actually going to be in the bullpen when the season began. He'd never really pitched in the bullpen before, but the plan was, because remember, when opening day came around in 2015, Trevor May actually came to Rochester.
Correct.
Never actually pitched, but he went up when Ricky Nolasco got hurt for the first time.
Yep.
And it was at that point that Dean came into the rotation to replace Trevor May. But he was really good. I mean, incredibly consistent. It was an interesting year around the IL offensively, and I don't exactly know the reason for this, but it was the lowest offensive season, the fewest runs scored, offense down across the board, really going all the way back to like 1988, 1989. So there were a lot of good pitching numbers in the league, and I don't necessarily know the reason for it for sure. But Dean is one of those guys that I think took full advantage of the fact that it was a really tough run scoring environment for whatever reason in the IL this past season.
Yeah, and you're right, Josh. I mean, the chances are obviously. I mean, he is a solid chance to be taken in that Rule 5 draft, because obviously the chances of the Twins putting him on the 40-man roster right now are probably slim and none. I don't see it happening. And you're right. Starting pitching is always. It's always a given in this league. You can never have too much of it. I've never seen one GM that goes, no, you know what, I'm good. Yeah. I don't need another good arm. We're set. No, there's always GMs, that always need another arm. I mean, there just are.
Yeah, I could see somebody maybe taking a flyer on him in that Rule 5, because it's not like you're taking somebody out of A-ball in his case.
No.
This is the guy who's 25, 26.
I was just going to say that.
Had a terrific season in AAA. So, he's pretty close to being ready.
I was just going to say his age,
He throws 180 and 2.82 ERA, and that's pretty solid.
Well,
yep.
That, and to me, it's his age. He's
yes.
like Josh mentioned, it's not a guy that it's a project where you're going to have to put 2 or 3 more years into. If you take this guy, you're grabbing this guy probably on the mindset that if it's not 2016, it's, it probably would be 2016 in some club's mindset. Yeah, it really would be.
Spot starter at worst.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talk about some of these young guys, Josh. I want to ask you a question, because we talked about a couple of guys that we thought stood out or that we were intrigued by in Rodriguez and Dean. Now, flip that back to you again. You get to see this club on a daily basis. You're around them all the time from, April till, September. Which player or players overall in 2015 stood out to you? And that doesn't necessarily have to be in a good way. It can be good or bad. But what players stood out to you? And then I want to follow that up with a second question. Which players do you think, if they're going to be back here in 2016, need to stay in Rochester for a little while before even getting that chance of jumping up to the majors, maybe needing some more improvement before their stock rises enough that they get seriously considered for Minneapolis?
Well, 2 guys I would mention that I think were pleasant surprises, maybe not for people that follow the Twins a lot, but you mentioned Taylor Rogers already. I was really impressed by Taylor Rogers.
Okay. And
if you look at his numbers deeper, he absolutely dominated left-handed hitters to the extent that he gave up, I think it was his second to last start of the year. Vin Gamble, who's a good prospect of the Yankees, a left-handed hitter, got 2 doubles off Rogers, who's a left-handed pitcher, okay? Those were the second and third extra base hits Rogers had given up to a lefty all season.
Oh, man.
And it happened in the second to last game of the year. He absolutely dominated left-handed hitters to the point, and my point being is that I think at worst, Taylor Rogers is going to wind up being a good lefty reliever in the major leagues, at worst.
Okay.
He's a really good athlete, fields his position well. His breaking ball is just outstanding. And to give you a visual on him, and actually I talked with Taylor Rogers and Tyler Duffy about this, they're both really tight. You know, Duffy has that kind of lower arm angle a little bit on his breaking ball.
Yep.
Rogers is like a left-handed version of that.
Okay.
Their breaking balls are basically opposite of each other. But, you know, we all saw how great Duffy's breaking ball worked in the major leagues.
Yes.
Rogers is a little bit like that, only left-handed.
Okay.
Now, I think Duffy maybe is a little bit better against lefties with his breaking ball right now than Rogers is against righties. But that gives you a little bit of an idea in your mind's eye if you're thinking about Taylor Rogers. So he's one. And another guy I would mention that only pitched in 2 or 3 games, but it was his second go-around in the Twins organization, is the 7-1 Luke Van Mill. They signed right at the end of the season.
Yep.
And I tell you what, he looked really good. He was throwing, I think he topped out at 98 miles an hour. He looked really good. I would be intrigued by this guy. And, one of the stipulations he had when he signed with the Twins is I don't just want to sign for the last week or 2 of the season. I want to have a contract for 2016 also. So he's already under contract for 2016 as well.
Okay.
So I would really keep an eye on him too, because he looked good in those 3 appearances, and it'll be something else if he does get to the big leagues, because he would be far and away the tallest major league pitcher ever.
Yeah, he did.
On the negative side of it,
Okay.
Alex Meyer had a rough year. We've talked about him before. Alex had a disappointing season. I think he would be the first one to admit that. Oswaldo Arcia had a horrible season.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on there, but Arcia.
Which that one really surprised me, Josh, because he started out the bigs. He started out okay in the bigs, then he got hurt, and then he just couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I don't know. It was really, really bad. He had a 2-week stretch, maybe week and a half stretch around the All-Star break, where he went nuts and was hitting home runs almost every day.
I remember that, yep.
But that was about it.
He was player of the week that week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think 2016 is really going to be critical for Oswaldo, and those would be guys that maybe stood out, unfortunately, on the negative side of things.
Okay. Well, I want to leave. Go ahead, Darrell. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna follow up with the outfield, because the outfielder player, or the Twins player of the year, was Max Kepler. And he's going to be in AAA. I can't see him going all the way to the bigs quite yet. And because of Hunter's departure, as long as Buxton doesn't go 0 for everything in spring training, I got to imagine he's going to be starting center fielder. But you also have Adam Brett Walker. Well, they got rid of Shane Robinson. So unless they pick up a 4th outfielder, that's Arcia. And we just got done talking about how he struggled a little bit. Can you see an outfielder that really steps up? Because Adam Brett Walker, although he hit his 4th home run today in the AFL, you got him, you got who strikes out a lot, and I think he needs AAA and all of AAA. You got Kepler, and then you got Arcia. Is there someone else that stands out that could be that 4th outfielder for the Twins?
Danny Santana, maybe? I don't know.
Well, that's it. And I actually went Eduardo Escobar if Danny Santana could play shortstop.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or vice versa.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Twins sign a guy, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't, because it also wouldn't shock me if Buxton starts next year here just for a little while.
Okay.
Because he did, he struggled offensively up there, and even the 2 weeks he was in AAA, his numbers were a little deceiving, in my opinion, considering he didn't really hit the ball as hard as a 400 batting average.
No, he tore it up in AA, but not.
Yeah, he did pretty well. Yeah. Well, he hit 400 in 13 games in Rochester. It was the sort of 400 that if he would have been here for 13 more games, that 400 would have turned into 280 in a hurry. Probably he was hitting into a lot of good luck. And he makes his luck in part because he's so darn fast. But it wouldn't shock me if Buxton does start here next year. But again, if they don't have any other options, you have to do what you have to do. But it wouldn't surprise me if they sign an outfielder to help bridge the gap, so to speak, again next year. But who knows?
Okay.
Well, and Josh, kind of as we talked about Taylor Rogers, we mentioned, Adam Brett Walker's name got mentioned as well. That leads me to my question about the AFL that I love asking all of you guys from the minor league side, because it's a whole different question to ask somebody from the major league side as it is to ask you guys from the minor league side, where you get to see these guys all the time. And the Twins have 7 prospects in the AFL this year. 2 of them are actually going to play in the AFL Fall Stars game that's coming up. Now, playing in the AFL has really seemed to help the development of guys like Max Kepler, Eddie Rosario. What are your personal thoughts on the AFL, and how important do you think it is to these young players' development?
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about that, to be honest with you. So I really can't answer that too intelligently, I don't think. I will say this. I was kind of surprised Taylor Rogers went, only because he pitched, 170-some innings in Rochester. So I was a little bit surprised that Taylor was a guy they picked to go out there after he pitched that much. But I don't really have a lot of insight as far as what that does for a guy, unfortunately. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
And he's actually pitched over 17 innings thus far in the Arizona Fall League. So,
and what's funny about that too is when I was told he was going out there, I was told he was going to be going out there to pitch as reliever, and I think he's been starting.
He has been. I think that's what we all. I think that's what we all thought.
He
that
has
he was
been
a reliever, and the second game of the season or the AFL, he was starting. Yeah, he's got 4 starts.
Yep.
3 have been sensational. 1 he wasn't, but yeah, he's had 3 sensational starts actually.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that. I don't know.
Okay, Darrell, go ahead.
Well, and I wanted to ask you too, because okay, I know you had the exact same records back to back, but now you've got all these guys that are getting ready to come up to the bigs coming up. You got Polanco, you got probably Berrios, maybe for a little bit. You could have Kepler, Walker, Duffy, Rogers, Birdie, Reed. Is there a lot of hype right now going into the 2016, or you think there will be a lot of hype going into 2016 for maybe a championship or a playoff push?
Yeah, I think people are going to be pretty excited once
there has to be, I would think.
Just this group of guys. In some cases they've won 3 championships already?
I would say 2 or 3 championships already. If you look at Max Kepler, he's run 3.
Yeah, and so I think it does bode well. And it used to be teams that were really young. I think the Red Wings in 2016 probably will be younger than they have in a while. And in years past, sometimes there were some seasons, or the thought was that you couldn't win in AAA with a real young team. And I don't know that that's necessarily always the case anymore. For example, the Scranton team I mentioned that was so good last year was the youngest team in the IL, and they wound up winning the IL North. So I think that there's a chance this could be a really good team in 2016 in Rochester. And by the time next April rolls around, I think there will be a ton of excitement to see what this group is able to do, and if they can keep it rolling and continue to perform at the level a lot of them have shown so far that they can perform at.
And I just wanted to follow up with one other question, because it almost looks like, and if the Twins maybe pick up, and I don't think they're going to get a starter, but maybe some bullpen help. It almost looks like they have 2 major league teams when it comes to the pitching staff. If you look at some of the guys there here in Rochester, if Berrios doesn't get called up, if Rogers doesn't get called up, back and forth, we saw a couple other guys. There's a lot of good pitching depth. I can see maybe a couple guys getting traded. Is there a scenario where maybe Rogers, if he continues to have a good showing AFL, where he gets traded to somewhere else for maybe a shortstop or another outfielder or second baseman?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the sort of stuff that'll be coming up during this off season, and Terry Ryan and company will be worrying about that. But I know what you mean. I mean, they seem to have too many starting pitchers for 5 spots right now for the Twins, and I think
because there's a lot of high A guys that we're going to see come rising up, and that's good. We want to see them in the next couple of years. But it seems like we have a couple guys that could be that mid-rotation, end-rotation guy, like a Rogers or Pat Dean, that's just not a spot for him right now.
Exactly, yeah. Which could
it's a
bode
good
well
thing. It's
for
a good thing. It's a good thing to have.
Exactly.
Well, hey, Josh, one thing I like to ask as we get towards the end of the interview, I like to ask each of our minor league guys to sell our Twins fans on if they're thinking about in 2016 making a trip to, the various affiliates, why they should go to those spots. For example, we talked to Larry Ward. Well, obviously it was very easy for Larry to sell Chattanooga. You can come watch the 2015 Southern League, champion Chattanooga Lookouts, very easy sell. Bryce Zimmerman in Fort Myers, pretty easy sell as well. Hammond Stadium at CenturyLink Sports Complex just got recently renovated. And, by the way, they're going to host the 2016 Florida State League All-Star Game. So, pretty easy sell on Bryce's part. Obviously, the weather's a nice little toss in there he can throw in as well in southern Florida. But for fans that have never been to Rochester, are there any improvements coming to Frontier Field? Or if not, just kind of a sell on why Twins fans should make the trek to come on out to Upper New York, to come out to Rochester and come on out and see, the Red Wings at Frontier Field. I mean, I've been there. It's a beautiful stadium. It's a gorgeous stadium in downtown Rochester. But you give a little picture as why Twins fans should come see the Red Wings in 2016.
I would recommend coming after May, probably number one.
Nice.
maybe past mid-June even.
Nice.
That you're a lot
if
safer.
You're a Minnesota guy, you might want to leave earlier than that, though.
April and May can be pretty rough weather-wise in western New York. But, we do have a beautiful ballpark, great view of the downtown skyline.
Yes.
The team, as we mentioned, should be loaded in 2016. Yeah. Rochester has a lot of great places to eat. That's one of the real bonuses about the city of Rochester. And I think that Frontier Field has some of the best food of any minor league stadium in the country too. So
I've seen that.
There are a lot of outstanding food options at the ballpark as well as you come to Rochester. So those would maybe be the things that stand out. And you want to make sure that if you come to the game, you tune in and listen to the radio broadcast while you're there.
Well, I mean,
that's right.
You should always do that. I mean, of course, always listen to our voices. I mean, if you're not, then that's. And by the way, that's a great point because I want to mention too, Twins fans. You can always RedWingsBaseball.com to catch Rochester, but also TuneIn. It's another app that we're starting to push a lot because TuneIn allows you on your Android device or your iPhone device to catch these great different voices. Whether it's, of course, we're talking to Josh Whetzel tonight to listen to the Red Wings. Bryce Zimmerman down in Fort Myers, Larry Ward in Chattanooga, Morgan Hawk in Cedar Rapids. TuneIn is a great way you can hear all these games, to hear Josh call a Red Wings game. So when you can't get to Rochester, you can still hear the action, be it just like you're there. So I want to throw that out there as well. It's another great way to listen to all of our minor league Twins voices. Use that TuneIn app. It's a free app. It costs you nothing to download, costs you nothing to listen to the games. It's a great extra way that you can always sit and listen to these great minor league voices, call the action, whether it's in Rochester, Chattanooga, Cedar Rapids, or Fort Myers. And with that, I guess, Josh, as we start to wrap it up, we got to ask you a personal, not too personal question, but more just off the baseball track a little bit. What do you have planned for the offseason now that you're done calling Rochester games until 2016? What is Josh Whetzel going to be doing in the next few months?
Well, I broadcast University of Buffalo basketball games, and so that season is getting ready to start actually with the first broadcast of an exhibition game in a couple of days. So that's getting ready to start, believe it or not, and then hopefully before you know it, spring training will roll around and we'll have another baseball season.
Yeah, you got free agency coming up, then winter meetings, and next thing you know, you got spring training.
Yeah, be good.
Yeah, hopefully it comes quick because that winter, and I know it's tough in your neck of the woods too. I don't like really sitting through that 4 to 6 months of that cold. So
yeah, not fun.
Not at all. And hey, and with that, we want to close out the interview. We want to really give a great thanks to Josh Whetzel, the voice of the Rochester Red Wings, for joining Talking Twins. Well, Twins fans, I hope you enjoyed the interviews with both Larry Ward and Josh Whetzel here in our Best of AA and AAA special edition of Talking Twins. Now, we'll be back next week live on January 6th for our first live show of 2016 as we sit down with Mike Berardino, You know him as the Twins Insider. Mike will be our guest on the January 6th show as we talk about the 2015 offseason and the outlook for 2016. So we'll have a lot of fun with Mike. Make sure you check back next week as we kick off 2016 in style. Now, we wish you guys a very happy new year in 2016. Hope everything goes well for you to start the year. Just remember, again, Talking Twins is part of the 4D Podcast Network and is always recorded at First Pitch Studios located in St. Paul, Minnesota. Your on-air talent for this week has been Darrell Yates and myself, Bradley Swanson. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Talking Twins, and also be sure to check out the Facebook page. That's www.talkingtwinsbaseball.com/Facebook for info on all your important Minnesota Twins news and links to the Talking Twins episodes. Thanks again for listening to Talking Twins. We'll talk to you guys next week. Have a happy new year and a great week, everybody. We'll see you then here on Talking Twins.
Talking baseball in Minnesota, Ernie Allen and Molotov. Krellick had a no-hit game, Kirby Puckett, what a shame. Heisel, Herbie, G-Man had their day, we love to watch them play.